Please be seated. Please be seated. Well, first of all, congratulations, class of 2009. This is a very joyous occasion. For our graduates, a celebration and recognition for their years of study. And for their family and friends who have supported them financially and emotionally over the years, this is a moment at once of pride and relief. Thank you, Mom and Dad. It's really the only occasion in which all concerned, graduates and their loved ones, teachers and staff, gather together to celebrate what we have done. I suppose that we might take a leaf from the current president's slogan and say, yes, we can. And truly remarkable are our graduates. Berkeley has been and remains, it's safe to say, the greatest public university in the world. We reject more students than any other university in the world. And to have majored in one of the programs in international and area studies speaks, I think, of your intelligence and prescience. Not only do we uphold the highest academic standards, we make you study world history, take additional language, but our majors address the most pressing topics facing the world today, whether it's peace and war, recession or depression, global poverty or global finance. Your studies have engaged critically with our rapidly transforming world. Yes, it's hard. Whether you want to change the world or to make your millions, or simply to understand and explain our rapidly changing world, I like to think that IAS has provided some of the best undergraduate education available in the world today. What makes this possible is that we're very fortunate to have some of the best scholars working in the world today, teaching right here at Berkeley. Not only are they distinguished scholars, but they're also unusually dedicated to the craft of teaching. I'm very proud to say that we have had 3 winners of the university's highest teaching awards in the past 4 years. This is a record unparalleled here at Berkeley. Now, I'd like to take a moment to introduce and to thank those who were able to participate in this celebration. First, Associate Dean Ananya Roy. Please stand. Professor Max Aufhammer. Co-Chair of Development Studies, Jillian Hart. Co-Chair of Development Studies, Michael Watts. Chair of Middle Eastern Studies, Nezar Al-Sayad. Chair of Peace and Conflict Studies, Jerry Sanders. Chair of Political Economy of Industrial Societies, Brad DeLong. Chair of Latin American Studies, Margaret Chowning. And continuing on, Professor Alan Callis, the Director of Honor Studies Program. Professor Darren Zook. Professor Francesca Giovannini. Professor Emily Gottridge. Professor Louis Siegel. Professor Julie Shackford Bradley. Professor Scott Bailey. And Professor Claire Tallwalker. Berkeley is many different things to different people. As graduates depart this beautiful campus, some of you will carry the fond memory of great lectures or stimulating seminars. Others will cherish the great conversations with roommates and classmates, the lifelong friendship they've forged right here. Yet others will remember, or not remember as the case may be, the parties about which you dare not discuss in a polite company. In these final days as a Berkeley student, I wanted to mention something that we rarely discuss explicitly, but to me is absolutely essential to what we're here about. And this has something to do with the academic gown that we are all wearing today, graduates and professors. Beside wedding and Halloween, commencement is the only other major occasion in which people wear something special. It's of course a symbolic vestment that unites the graduates, but also to their alumni of years past, your teachers and their teachers and their teachers. The wearing of the gown, most importantly, highlights the almost sacred nature of this occasion. I can't think of a better articulation of this sentiment, than to invoke the example of Ernst Kantorowicz, one of the greatest medieval historians of medieval Europe. Now, Professor Kantorowicz was a Berkeley professor, and almost 60 years ago, almost exactly to this day, he resigned his professorship by refusing to sign the loyalty oath, which required all employees of the University of California to swear that they are not communists. He was, in fact, not a communist. His political inclination was, in fact, almost in the completely opposite direction. He was profoundly conservative, and in fact, something about counter-revolutionary. It's not a coincidence that he loved the medieval world so much. In explaining his decision to resign his professorship, Professor Kantorowicz said, exactly 60 years ago today, quote, "There are three professions which are entitled to wear a gown: the judge, the priest, and the scholar. This garment stands for its bearer's maturity of mind, his independence of judgment, and his direct responsibility to his conscience and to his God. It signifies the inner sovereignty of those three interrelated professions. They should be the very last to allow themselves to act under duress and yield to pressure. It's a shameful and undignified action. It's an affront and a violation of both human sovereignty and professional dignity that the regents of these universities have dared to bully the bearer of this gown into a situation in which, under the pressure of bewildering economic coercion, he is compelled to give up either his tenure or, together with his freedom of judgment, his human dignity and responsible sovereignty as a scholar." End of quote. So just as he had left Nazi Germany, Professor Kantorowicz would leave his tenured Berkeley professorship so as not to compromise his intellectual integrity. Now, the pursuit of the life of the mind, the examined life, it's not something just about learning, but ultimately it's about moral and spiritual development. It's about the possibility of intellectual and moral autonomy, of an ethical life of reflection and responsibility, integrity, and independence. Among the things you remember about Berkeley then, I dare hope that you might keep in the recesses of your mind the example of Professor Kantorowicz and the highest aspiration for intellectual independence and moral freedom that is at the heart of this great university. It's a true privilege to have studied at Berkeley, and I can only hope that you will exercise your freedom and privilege with responsibility and wisdom in the years ahead. Now, what I'd like to do is to ask Professor Nanyu Roy to recognize some of our outstanding staff and faculty members.
Well, good afternoon. On behalf of the teaching program, I would like to recognize some of our members. This has been quite a year for us. And amidst the drama and turmoil, what has been particularly apparent is the excellence of our students, staff, and faculty. The formal awards that they have received tell only part of the story. I'm very proud to be a part of this community, the IAS teaching program. So I want to start by recognizing Professor Max Aufhammer, this year's recipient of the Distinguished Teaching Award, which is the highest teaching award conferred by this campus on its faculty. Max's teaching in IAS 106 is legendary, and this year to that he has added the teaching of IAS 107. Next, Professor Gillian Hart, who is the recipient of this year's Outstanding Mentorship of GSI's Award. Professor Hart was specially recognized for her work in Development Studies 100, a course that is much loved by our students and is a campus treasure as well. Professor Alan Karras, who is the director of the Honors Thesis Program, who played a lead role in securing a major national grant that recognized his innovative and rigorous format in the thesis sequence. I also want to recognize some of our staff. In fact, I want to recognize the efforts of all of our staff in the teaching program and in the IAS Dean's office, who not only organize commencement each year, but of course do the everyday work that makes possible our programs. And this year, I particularly want to recognize the newest member of our staff, Rebecca Chavez, who has helped organize commencement. So thank you, Rebecca. Two of our staff members have also received recognition at the campus level, and I want to invite them to the podium. The first is Nan Hara, who was nominated by faculty and students for the Chancellor's Outstanding Staff Award for her wonderful spirit and her ability to make this place work. So Nan. And for those of you who ever wonder how all your courses get scheduled, Nan is the person who makes that happen. And of course, Vida Prater, who's the Director of Administration for the IAS Teaching Program. Vida, who has been here on this campus for 28 years. And I don't know why she's still smiling, but she always does have a smile on her face. And who has been here for the start for the IAS Teaching Program. Vida is the 2009 recipient of the Excellence in Management Award, one of the highest awards staff on this campus receive. I also want to steal a minute at this podium to recognize our Dean, John Lee. Dean Lee's term as IAS Dean comes to an end this summer, and while he may be very eager to enjoy his freedom, he will be much missed at the IAS teaching program. Dean Lee has been a stalwart supporter of our teaching mission, of establishing new programs, such as the Global Poverty in Practice Minor, of expanding study abroad. I've had the privilege of serving as his associate dean for 4 years, and it has spoiled me. It has spoiled me because John calls into question the usual academic hierarchies. He insists on being a scholar while being an administrator. And he insists that undergraduates on this campus must matter, and must matter above all else. So, Dean Lee, thank you for your leadership of the IAS teaching program.
Now, when I sit in the audience, I often wonder, what is it that these people get? Something very good. My favorite restaurant. It's on Solano Avenue, if you're curious. Needless to say, as Professor Roy mentioned, all our faculty and staff are deserving of our most profound thanks. And yet, I must take this opportunity to acknowledge one person in particular, someone who's worthy of our highest recognition and respect. In her 4 years as the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at International and Area Studies, she has revitalized the teaching programs with her charismatic leadership, brilliant intellect, moral wisdom, and dare I say it, sartorial splendor. She has won every conceivable teaching award on this campus, and she will step down at the end of the ceremony after 4 years of truly outstanding service. So please join me in expressing our depth of gratitude to Associate Dean Ananya Roy. I am not giving my present, however. The student speaker was selected by a panel of their student peers, and it truly is a profound honor to be able to address their fellow graduate. This year's speaker is Shoaib Barmal. Originally from Pakistan, he grew up in Southern California. Coming north, he has participated actively in groups ranging from Future Business Leaders of America to Students for Responsible Business to the International Association of Business Communicators. Beyond honing his entrepreneurial skills, he was active as a tutor, advisor, and conflict mediator at a local elementary school, as well as at Berkeley High. A true challenge indeed. This fall, he will begin to work at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and who says that a liberal arts degree is not marketable? Please welcome Shoaib Barmal.
So as you can tell, my family sits there. Welcome, family, friends, faculty, and fellow graduates. As we sit here together, many thoughts and feelings rush through our minds. Some of us feel relieved, some accomplished, proud, or nostalgic, while others feel excited, sad, and nervous. This list can go on and on. The memories and events we have experienced during our time at Cal are forever sketched in our minds. Memories of the classes we took, the professors, GSIs, and friends we met, and the many events that took place on this campus. We, as Berkeley students, have brought home the axe 3 times. We've seen people live on trees. And memorably, we flooded the streets after a historic election. Yes, we can. Then there are those memories which we try our best to forget, like the streakers running through Moffitt during finals. Ironically, I was studying for a human anatomy final when that happened. Now to our department, International and Area Studies. There are very few select departments that encompass so many different things, and IS is one of them. Our majors range from studying specific regions and areas to general political, economic, and social relationships. As we have seen, our interdisciplinary education in IS has exposed us to a global and international perspective that can be applied to numerous fields and industries. Through IS, we have pursued our personal interests and tackled a challenging curriculum to reach where we are today. In the process of completing our major, we have not only developed academically, but also as individuals. Our paths from here, although different in direction, share this common foundation. In getting where we are today, many people have helped us along our path. Our teachers and advisors, who not only challenged us, but encouraged our intellectual curiosity. Our roommates, dorm mates, and classmates, who not only studied with us, but joined us in celebrating after a big midterm or final. And our family, including our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, as well as those special individuals close to our hearts, who continue to push and support us. Words cannot do justice to how much these people have contributed to our development and where we are today. These people have encouraged our dreams and supported our ambitions. They've been there in our greatest time of need and believed in our abilities even when we may have lost hope in ourselves. This is a celebration for all of you, as it is for us. Thank you all for everything you have done for us. Dream big and work towards making them a reality. My dad told me this when I was very young, and it stuck with me ever since. Regardless of what it may be and how unrealistic it may sound, he told me the first step was to continue dreaming. These dreams will become your goals, ambitions, and desires. They will serve as a light to your goals throughout your life. In addition, he said to actively work in making your dreams come true. When you put all your efforts in trying to achieve something, you will never go empty-handed. Even That's my dad. Thank you. Even if you don't achieve what you wanted, the journey and experience in trying to achieve it will be rewarding in and of itself. I want to share a story about such an experience. Last year, I was recruiting for a job. As many of you can relate, looking for a job is not the easiest thing to do in this economy. Beginning in January, I had not only completed the necessary steps outlined by family, friends, and the Career Center, but began sending my resume to companies. By June, I had sent my resume to 150 or so companies, and surprisingly, had not received a single job offer. I was disheartened and felt embarrassed that I couldn't receive a job. To me and many of my family and friends, my resume looked good. I followed all the necessary steps and believed, at certain points, gone the extra mile to secure a job. It seemed luck and fate were against me. I felt I had failed and let down everyone who was expecting me to succeed. My mom, dad, family, and friends reassured and encouraged me to continue applying and keep up my efforts, and that eventually it would work out. Well, they were right. Towards the end of last year, I received a job offer at one of my dream companies. This is a small example that perseverance, endurance, and belief in your dreams never leaves you empty-handed. I'm sure many of you have similar success stories where you have tackled the odds to make your dreams become a reality. All of us have different dreams, some small, some big, some that can be achieved in a short amount of time, and others we'll spend our entire lives trying to achieve. Our education here at Cal will not only help us achieve these dreams, but create new ones. The unique aspect about IS and even more specifically, our individual majors, is that our education doesn't end here. It's developing and continuously changing. It transforms as a result of all the day-to-day events that occur throughout the world. Our major has taught us to look at an issue from different perspectives and find a solution that may not have been found otherwise. Coming to UC Berkeley and participating in the IS program has allowed me to put a different perspective on my dad's advice. A perspective I'm sure many of you share, a global perspective, in dreaming big to include and help others. Our IS education has put a new light on global and international issues, including the many disparities and inequalities that exist around the world. Many of us are blessed with the basic necessities that people around the world struggle for on a day-to-day basis. As we graduate from one of the leading institutions in the world, we have more of a responsibility to address these issues and concerns. Our majors have given us the education and sparked our imaginations to find ways to make a difference and in achieving our dreams to include others. Many of us never dreamed that such a day as today would ever come. If you look at history, success, growth, and progress, all have begun with someone's dream. And as someone who moved to this country at the age of 6, I feel very fortunate that such an opportunity was presented to me. It was one of my dreams to speak in front of all of you. And now, all this talk of dreams has probably made a lot of you very sleepy. So I'll leave you all with the same advice my dad gave me. Dream big and work towards making them a reality. Class of 2009, congratulations, we did it. Thank you, good luck, and keep dreaming.
Thank you, Mr. Barmal.
Thank you.
Now it's time for our commencement speaker, Professor Maximilian Aufhammer. In my 5 years as the Dean of International and Area Studies, I have been very fortunate in having one after another faculty member win a major campus teaching award. Some of the past winners are sitting with us here today, including Darren Zook, Ananya Roy, and Nezar Al-Sayad. This year, as you have learned from Associate Dean Roy, Professor Maximilian Aufhammer was one of the coveted Distinguished Teaching Awards on this campus, the highest award given to a teacher at UC Berkeley. Professor Aufhammer is, of course, not just an outstanding teacher, but also an outstanding scholar. He is widely regarded as one of the leading environmental economists of his generation, producing one path-breaking paper after another. I'm also very pleased to say that he will be promoted with tenure here at UC Berkeley. Please welcome Max Aufhammer.
So thank you, Dean Lee, for the kind introduction. Before I get started on my formal remarks, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dean Lee and Associate Dean Ananya Roy and their staff for their efforts over the past years. You may not know this, but this is the last ISTP graduating class, which will be presided over by the IAS Dean. The teaching program over time has grown tremendously. We have close to 1,000 majors today. We started the fall with 522. It's a popular topic of study. You're the biggest graduating class we've had. Over 350 of you are graduating today. And getting you and all of us to this point was a tremendous amount of work by deans present, deans past, and their staff. So thank you for all of your efforts over the years. So here comes the formal part. Dear graduates, parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts, uncles, friends, Dean Lee, and esteemed colleagues, I'm one of two people who stand between you and your well-earned diploma. I'm humbled by and grateful for that great honor of being invited to act as this last obstacle, dressed in a medieval gown and wearing a floppy hat, which I will right now take off. I hope this doesn't offend anybody. Today is a truly great day. Walking in here and seeing the excited expressions on your faces and the nothing short of radiant expressions of pride on the faces of your parents is deeply touching and inspiring. You and your families have every reason to be proud of your achievements over the past 4 or 5 years. The fact that you were admitted to the single greatest public university in the entire world is an achievement in itself. You came here because you were that overachiever wherever it is that you came from. You were the top student at your high school. You've worked for the US Postal Service for years to save up enough money to come here, taking classes at night. You've come from overseas. You spent years assembling cars at manufacturing plants, again to save up enough money to come here. I'm not making up any of these facts either. But all of you arrived here on this campus and were surrounded by 25,150 of the world's brightest minds of their generation, a campus full of your true peers. This, which I can say from my own experience at a similar campus a few years back, is a deeply humbling experience. For many of you, the first B+ came as a complete shock. You did not even recognize a grade that didn't start with the letter A. Some of you, however, as I know from your transcripts, never actually experienced this shock. Today is May 20th. May 20th is a big day for us who like to look beyond the borders of the counties we live in, the states we live in, and the great nation we live in, to the shores of foreign lands. On May 20th, 1498, Vasco da Gama, and I asked my colleague from Portugal how to pronounce that properly, and I hope I got that right, landed in Calicut, India, making him the first person to command a fleet which sailed from Europe to India. On the same day, 511 years later, you have arrived. You've finished your degree. While you were at Cal, you did a lot. You've dissected the writings of Hayek, Foucault, Arendt. You became extremely excited about Karl Polanyi. Correct? You questioned Marx. You criticized Friedman, either one. You've challenged your minds, you've challenged your emotions, and for those of you on the variety of sports teams, you've challenged your bodies. You have interned with the United Nations in Geneva. You have worked in Washington, D.C. for Senator Boxer. You have become vegan in order to save carbon. You have started taking the bus using Berkeley's mandatory bus pass, but not without pointing out that this may not be the most efficient use of your tuition payment. You have played in the Cal band, dragging a 40-pound tuba across the country. You've made national news by being arrested while photographing a protest in North Africa and were freed due to a message sent on Twitter. You have worked 25 to 30 hours so both you and your sibling could graduate from college with no student loans and no credit card debt. You have found a job and you don't have to move home. You're about to open a microfinance bank in northern Uganda. You have worked on the one laptop per child program, witnessed live trade negotiations in Washington, D.C. You're taking on that consulting job, but not without at night helping rural spice farmers in Vietnam and India to grow higher quality product so they can command higher prices. You traveled to New Orleans to help with the reconstruction of devastated homes after Katrina. Most important to many, you have handed that other school down the street uncountable defeats in sports disciplines I did not even know existed. Almost done with my list. You have surfed in each hemisphere, off the coast of each continent, in every ocean, and you are still stoked. You have created sustainable sandwich programs, interned at the California Supreme Court, written honors theses, countless papers, taken even more exams. And while doing that, here at Cal, you made friendships and connections that will last you for the rest of your life. You, dear graduating seniors, are an inspiration and the reason I love this great university. May 20th has been a day which also marks the point of departure for a number of great journeys in history. On this day in 1927, Charles Lindbergh took off from Roosevelt Field in Long Island, New York, on the world's first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic Ocean, touching down at Le Bourget Field in Paris at 22:22 the next day. 5 years later, on the same day, another brave soul, Amelia Earhart, takes off from Newfoundland to begin the world's first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic Ocean by a female pilot landing in Ireland the next day. Today, 350 of Berkeley's finest undergraduates and graduates depart from the few acres between Bancroft, Hearst, College, and Piedmont Streets. And we, your faculty and friends, cannot wait to see what you will do next. You're entering the next stage of your professional life at an uncertain time. The global economy is in turmoil, unemployment is rising, and the trouble is not contained to domestic shores alone. Our friends in developed and developing countries alike are suffering the consequences of a global financial meltdown which was partially triggered by the greed of a few and the fear of the many. In my final lecture in macroeconomics, I talk about the parallels between the first few months into the Great Depression of the late 1920s and the current situation, which ends the course on a rather sour and unhappy note, as those of you who are in this class surely remember. The question I got right after that lecture in at least 30 emails was, when will we recover, Professor Aufheimer? Well, the right question I think we should actually ask is, how will we recover, and in what ways can we tweak the system to emerge as a stronger and better society? That raises the question, what do we mean by stronger and better? Do we simply aim to achieve a return and a potential exceedance of per capita wealth from previous days, growth for growth's sake? You in your lifetime will likely consume twice the amount of goods and services your parents have consumed. If your parents resemble mine, a middle-class couple, the lifestyle was very comfortable and all our basic needs were met. Do I personally need to consume twice as much as my parents did? Does increased consumption really make us happier individuals? Deep down inside, we do know the answer cannot be an unequivocal yes. These difficult times do present us with an opportunity to make long-lasting, persistent changes which can put our society on a different track. As a society, we have recently spoken. This was my first election, and we're courageously going ahead and with ambitious plans to tackle the problem dear to my heart, which is global climate change, providing something resembling universal health care at some point, and rethinking the way we manufacture goods in our manufacturing sector. Our own actions in our day-to-day life, as well as the policies we press our elected officials to pass, in my eyes, need to increasingly reflect a reorientation of our priorities to place a larger emphasis on the benefits and costs of our individual actions to all, instead of just the benefit to one. So if we know the right thing to do, how do we do it? In the words of the father of the nation, whose shores Vasco da Gama set foot on 511 years ago today, be the change that you want to see in the world. This may be easier said than done, but there are a few guiding principles which will help along the way. Here we go. Follow your instinct. Use your skills. 4 years here. You've got a toolbox that you cannot wait to try out. Never, ever cease to learn. And be fearless. The woman who first crossed the Atlantic in a tiny plane put it very well when she said, "The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. You can act to change and control your life. And the procedure, the process, is its own reward." While the path you will set out on is certainly an uncertain one, charge that path, my friends. Go ahead, fearless. Give it your all. Surround yourself with people whose judgment you trust and who challenge and support your efforts. You're part of a network 431,500 strong that is cheering you on and wishes you to succeed no matter the size of the task you have set for yourself. Such is the nature of being a Cal graduate. Deep inside, you do know what your calling is. I dare you to follow this call. In closing, I want to thank you for listening to my brief remarks and cannot wait to hear about your adventures. Before I finish, however, there's one last thing you should do along that path you're about to embark on. You should always express your gratitude to the ones who've led you and helped you along this path. In that spirit, I would like you, graduating class, to please rise and turn around, face your families who are in this room right now, and thank them by giving them a big hand. Thank you. Oh, my hat. I shouldn't forget that one.
Thank you, Professor Aufhammer. Now, we will recognize a number of our graduates who, through their hard work, have earned special awards. Like the Academy Awards, all of them have been kept secret until today, this moment. So we'll begin with departmental citations, which were initiated in 1955 by the UC Berkeley Committee on Prizes. This prestigious award honors excellence in a particular departmental field of study. Recipients are chosen because of unusual talent and promise, outstanding grades, distinctive work in their major, and contribution to their department. Only one student from each major receives the award each year. May I ask the chairs of each of our majors to step up as I announce each of these awards. Professors Gillian Hart and Michael Watts, the co-chairs of Development Studies. They will present the winner of the departmental citation in Development Studies to Matthew Singh. Congratulations. Professor Margaret Chowning, the chair of Latin American Studies. She will present the winner of the departmental citation in Latin American Studies to Roberta Loeb Rode. Professor Nezar Al-Sayad, the Chair of Middle Eastern Studies. He will present the winner of the Departmental Citation in Middle Eastern Studies to Dina Omar. Professor Jerry Sanders, the Chair of Peace and Conflict Studies, he will present the winner of the Departmental Citation in Peace and Conflict Studies to Charlotte Hill. Congratulations. Last but not least, Professor Brad DeLong, the Chair of Political Economy of Industrial Societies, he will present the Departmental Citation to Von Po Kwas. Congratulations to all of you. Now it's time to give out 3 special contribution awards, which are given to students who have made outstanding contribution to the intellectual and moral life of the IAS teaching programs. The first winner is Nicolas de Groot. Nicholas founded the UC Berkeley chapter of the Student Peace Alliance as part of the national effort to create a cabinet-level Department of Peace and the National Peace Academy. He's also played a leadership role in student governance, both in Peace and Conflict Studies and the larger ISA teaching program. Congratulations, Nicholas. The second winner is Angela Ni. Angela has served the teaching program with great passion and even love. Her own intellectual commitment to IAS is reflected in her multifaceted research interests, ranging from public health to urban planning. Congratulations, Angela. And the last, but not least, of course, is Hima Patel. Hima has played a significant role in developing the IASTP Peer Advisor Program for the past 3 years. She's also managed to balance a part-time job, a full academic load, and leadership positions in other campus organizations. Congratulations, Hima. So, congratulations to all 3. Now, I'd like to invite Professor Alan Karras, who will introduce the honors class. Alan?
Each year, students who meet the IAS teaching program's minimum grade point average for honors are invited to participate in our year-long honors course. Over the course of the year, those who enroll are required to produce an honors thesis that is based on original research using primary sources and that makes an innovative and insightful argument. This program has produced, over the years, many wonderful essays. Some of these have later gone on to be published in various forms. Several of the student authors have also gone on to extend their research, receiving funding from organizations including the Fulbright. One could say that the talent that has emerged in my rather long involvement with this program has really been quite remarkable. The students who are seated on the stage behind me are really remarkable and outstanding. While I say that every year, and I mean it every year, this year's class is distinguished from past classes in several significant ways. 80% of them are, for example, women. But perhaps the most important of these distinguishing characteristics can be related through my soon-to-come public confession. My forthcoming admission is directed not just to the families and friends of those who are here graduating, but to those of you in the audience who have ever had the misfortune to be in a class with me. Invariably, on the first or second day of a large class, students ask about my grading policy. I know what my reputation is, since I can see the easiness rating on all of those websites that are publicly available. Let's just say I take a rather perverse pleasure in getting low easiness ratings for now. Nevertheless, when the invariable question about grading comes up, I always claim that I will give everyone an A, provided that they actually earn the A. I mean it when I say it, and I would do it if it ever happened, but it just never happened. Until now. The honors class seated behind you is the first class in over a dozen years of working with the honors group where every student, and I mean every single student, has earned an A. There was not an A- in the bunch. The research and writing, as well as the engagement, collegiality, and citizenship was among the best that I have ever seen anywhere. And for that, the students deserve our congratulations. They are, and they know I think this because I have told them individually and collectively, a truly wonderful class. I should also say that this is the first class in a long time where I remember quite a few of these students when they first arrived on campus. They have always been active learners, determined to make sense of the world around them. Please join me in congratulating their accomplishment as they rise to be recognized. Now that you know how great they are, I can get on to some other business, the announcement of the Outstanding Thesis Award. Each year, the best of the theses are considered for this honor, and each year, the final products make it very difficult to determine the award winner. This year was no exception. There were so many contenders for the prize, but in the end, only one thesis could win the award. It is therefore my distinct pleasure to break the metaphorical seal on the envelope and announce this year's prize-winning thesis written by Sophie Fredlund-Glumps from the PEIS major. Sophie, will you come forward? I'm going to embarrass Sophie now in front of her friends and relatives. Sophie's paper, entitled Jantelagen and Multiculturalism, a Dynamic Duel, is about Swedish migration policy and its impact on Swedish society. Ordinarily, our papers on European topics have been somewhat, well, dull. Sophie's paper is anything but that. Indeed, her argument was one of the most nuanced and sophisticated of any thesis I have ever seen. Without going into too much detail, Sophie explained the problems that have arisen as a result of Sweden's multicultural policy as the country became the leading recipient of immigrants in Europe. It analyzed the ways in which national policies are being challenged and considered the implications for policy changes within Sweden and indeed within Europe. I haven't done it justice here. It's a complicated argument and a detailed analysis. I know that neurotic Sophie will tell you that it's not really finished, but the paper is actually quite wonderful. Please join me in recognizing Sophie for her outstanding thesis. I'm so proud of you.
Now comes the moment we have been waiting for, the conferring of degrees. We will begin with the graduate students in International and Area Studies, Masters of Arts in International and Area Studies, and Masters of Arts in Latin American Studies, as well as the Rotary World Peace Scholars Program. We'll begin with MA in International and Area Studies. Professor Michael Watts will foot 3 graduates. First, John D. Porres Aimbire. Luke Fletcher. Antonia Porter. Now we'll continue with Masters of Arts in Latin American Studies. Professor Watts will hood Domingo Antonio Blanco Gutierrez. Professor Margaret Channing. Professor Channing will hood Sarah Elizabeth Terry Cobo. Now we'll move on to the Rotary World Peace Fellows. They'll be recognized by Professor Watts, co-chair of Development Studies, but also the director of the program, who will say a few words about the Rotary program.
It's a great pleasure to be able to acknowledge the graduation of the Rotary Peace Fellows. Many of you will perhaps not only be familiar with the Rotary Foundation, but maybe are Rotarians. And the Rotary Foundation very generously 6 years ago funded a program of 7 universities around the world, including Berkeley, which brings to, in our case, to the Berkeley campus, 10 international students every year. And those students are typically what we call mid-career students. They're students who've graduated, have done something else with their lives, have an interest in peace and conflict studies in particular, and come to this campus where they acquire actually 2 degrees, a master's degree in international and area studies, and then a second master's degree in a discipline of their choice. It may be law, it may be sociology, it may be history, it may be public health. And so this is our 6th class that are graduating, and it's a great pleasure to be able to acknowledge the Rotary Fellows. I'm not sure if they are all here, but if they would like to come up, that would be terrific. John de Porres Ayimbiri. Domingo Blanco Gutierrez. Larissa Bosch Poyada, who may not be here, I think. Luke Fletcher. The others are not here, but let me read their names if I may. Veronica Guzman, Omid Mermarian, Antonia Porter. And last, but by no means least, Aditya Rametra. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Watts. Now it's time for the conferral of undergraduate degrees. I'd like to welcome 2 of our IAS students who will have the honor of reading the names of our graduating seniors, Peter Boverding and Ariana Sarfarazi. We will start with honor students.
Nicole Lynn DiNuccio.
Carla De Leon.
Jessica Yu.
Roberta Laub Rodi.
Maria Elizabeth Kaiser.
Elizabeth Mary Cato.
Erica Tabish Embry.
Paige Elizabeth Weber.
Nina Rebecca Brooks.
Michael John Boudon.
Nathaniel Fowler Futterman.
Gabriel Juan Paulo Carlos Catapang.
Vanessa Chen.
Lisa Lynn Shu.
Vaughn Paul Quass.
Daniel Carl Weeks.
Sophie Fredland Blomst.
Angela Nee.
Alicia Rachel Stein-Manis.
Samantha Leah Schott. So it's forward. Oh, yeah, like that. Yeah, it's fine.
And now we're starting with the development studies majors.
Diego Kuznier. Let's keep them separate.
Layli Falatunzadeh.
Sid Bernstein.
Catherine Delfino Gordon.
Sunny Lai.
Ryan Suzara Calarina.
Elaine Marie Nunez Legaspi.
Zilose Fury Lyons.
Jude Paul Matthias Dezon.
Sarah Ann Sparker.
Jane Park.
Natalia Jasmine Khalifa.
Isha Vidge.
Catherine Elizabeth Gladstein.
Joanna Garcia.
Cecilia Getz.
Shay. Tian Chen Lisa Shea.
Andrew Perry McLeroy.
Jonathan De La Paz.
Matthew Singh.
Hannah Jo Donart.
Katie Cheeky Tang.
Lindsay Lane.
Benjamin Arthur Dinsis Davis.
Timothy Merlot.
Martha Josephine Rook.
Yael Sarah Danovich.
Kimberly Michelle Wolf.
Leslie K. Pace.
Eden Fakad.
Tara Tobin.
Rachel Jones.
Nadav David Chudler.
Felicia Berryessa Eric.
Nairi Vartaresian.
Brittany Marie Tyler.
Anne Songdej.
Jenna Toki Nakagawa.
Liza Chiriola.
Emily Rebecca Wilson.
Galeana Griselda Fajardo.
Aviva Rena Lipkowitz.
Is it this one?
And now here are our Middle Eastern Studies graduates.
Dina Mohammed Omar.
Sharon Meked.
Michael Jafari.
Lisa Roscoe.
Ana Gabriela Vilchis. American Studies?
These are now Latin American Studies majors. Catherine Natasha Nicklin.
Eliza Rigonati Pasquini.
Morgan Llewellyn Weinert.
Alexandra Sloan Fast.
Nicole Candace Campbell.
Caitlin Rose Connolly.
Lindsay Patrice Richardson.
Alicia Rebecca Monroy.
And now for the Peace and Conflict Studies majors.
Li Yang.
Maya Supak.
Betty Rosenda Green.
Connie Chung.
Kana Yoshida.
Semra Simo Hunter.
Amber Elise Eschwig.
Sonia Leticia Sanchez.
Megan Elizabeth Gordon.
Long Trong Chow.
Christine Marie Rasmussen.
Romina Juarez Alvarez.
Cynthia Jill Parmley.
Juana Leahu Alwash.
Honey Clarissa Morton.
Elena Haven Humphreys.
Lauren Claire McAdams.
Mackenzie Lynn Pierce. Thank you.
Nicholas James DeGroot.
Charlotte Lene Hill.
Maya Alexandra Apley.
Anamika Wilcox.
Corey Danielle Miller.
Manuel Daniel Kernan.
Malik Beruznami Smith.
Avatal Sarah Abudi.
Kylie Kuhn.
Ori Talmore.
Jesse Durkin.
Anna Callett.
Jennifer Lee Connett.
Carolyn Mary Hertel.
Danielle Jean Fox.
Cassandra Danielle Salgado.
Vanessa Diaz.
Emily Rose Perhamus.
Kelly Christine Jordan.
Priya Rai.
Andrea Marie Spate.
Daniel Michael Traverso.
Sophia Amy Hasegawa.
Claire Cho Doran.
Ashley Michelle Garber.
Christina Nishewat.
Basima Summer Kenneth Sizemore.
Allison Dager. And now we have our political economy of industrial societies majors.
David Zhang.
Michael Lowry Jr.
Christina Kotka.
Justin Wang.
Sherry Wu.
Rory Benjamin Mowat.
Rosemary Wong Liu.
Hema Patel.
Erica Ramirez.
Connie Bustinza Nguyen.
Q Sung Lee.
James Philip Roberts.
Maribel Cortez.
Bryant Karkamo Saad.
Eric Reese Silverman.
Slyman Nawabi.
Rosalva Orozco Garcia.
Maricela Veronica Gomez.
Alexander Cruz.
Yolanda Millie Gonzalez.
Nancy Gonzalez.
Carla Alarcon.
Janet Ruvalcaba.
Jessica Lee Scalzo.
Tudung Vu.
Navjot Kaur.
Rodrigo Castillo.
Elizabeth Mendez.
Lucia Kwong.
Sandra Robles.
Alina Shinkarski.
Tanya Starkman.
Erica Muchler-Nielsen.
Alexander Lewis.
Vincent Michael Serena.
Kyle John Huntington Jeffrey.
Fat Richard Tuan Nguyen.
Stephen Leong Chen.
Anya Arokina.
Sarah Nicole Kerber.
Eduardo Molina Barbarena.
Jason Oliver Sebastian House.
Armin Arshavir Yagyawan.
Jeremy Acevedo.
Jovanis Garspazian.
Josep Gavutian.
Andrew Rogers.
Castler Graham Johnston.
Dory Jacobson.
Deep Bott.
Claire Baker Wilkins.
Natalie Danielle Camastra.
Rita Maria Anderson.
Anthony Mateo Risi.
Sam Elliott Iverson.
Roshani Ann Mansour.
Andrea Eleanor Ringer.
Joseph Lawrence Durkin.
Sumana Rihanna Matra.
Christopher Kerr Reed.
David Scott Evans.
Alma Medina.
Grace Chen Yu.
Vanessa Charlene Wilson.
Sharon Lowe.
Christine Lee.
Maggie Kong.
Ensu Song.
Nielsen Lin.
Rachel Michelle Bressy.
Jonathan Wayne Thomas.
Sergey Budkovich.
Samira Abdu.
Brendan Peter Gluck.
Megan Kathleen Curran.
Sarah Lynn Purcell.
Sarah Vu.
Non Nguyen Lay.
Andrea Ann Nguyen.
Christy Tuyet Na Ho.
Erica Dawn Selstead.
Caslin Jean Cole.
Rana Layla Farzan.
Jordan Catherine McCarthy.
Brianne Barat Gala.
Jaya Neil Shaw.
Arthi Raj Doshi.
Alyssa Budrudin Premji.
Sarah Shireen Griffith.
Mariana Nicole Sines.
Jacob Frederick Rossetti.
Vladislav Andreev.
Rachel Bautista.
Leslie Edwards.
Cynthia Helen Garcia.
Eric Kim.
James Kim.
David Hang.
Alan Cho.
Arvin Saldonia Chua.
Jim Lee.
Ada Wing Yip.
Betty Weiju Fong.
Esther Shu. Ulduz Berenç Furuş Azer.
Neil Rajesh Kadukia.
Javier Lopez.
Leah Plaguey Robkin.
Danielle Corey Pennington.
John Philip Bordelamp.
Ryan Webb.
David Philippe Lefebvre.
David Earl Koken.
Hannah Elisa Frankel.
Lindsay Jane Taylor.
Norris Nang Tranduk.
Michelle Nicole Bennett.
Fren Kadivian.
Marina Matsukevich.
Amina Buporia.
Courtney Sato.
Miguel Contreras.
Megan Kathleen Geese.
Ada So. John Scott Doyle Mason. Sorry, can I do his? Philip Charles Parent.
Christopher Chen.
Jason Way.
Callahan Michael Agan.
Saba Suhail Shatara.
Kevin Hirokazu Nakakara.
Amy Risling Bonds.
Curtis Lee.
Albert Richard Wang.
Namitha Bozine.
Edward Hutong Chow.
Eric Wesley Wadge.
Judy G.
Timothy Shin Quay.
Alexander Zaman. Lyle Edward Sakawe.
Emily Margaret Bromley.
Bright Nielsen.
Anna Therese Persh.
Rami Alexandra Champion.
Morgan Thor Brewer.
Megan Louise Roberto.
Samantha Lee Maskey.
Andrew Edward Epstein.
Amanda Bow.
Karine Joanna Jakobowitz.
Colin Wilson Zeeler. Maziar Momeni.
Nathan Ewan.
Kai Vernstrom.
Nicole Koliaiko.
Naomi Liu.
Cindy Chang.
Lily Tam.
Ivy Tam.
Veena Pathiporampil.
Nikki Pankaj Desai.
Christian Hansen Strong.
Stephanie Colleen Smith.
Ghislaine Ann Little.
Jeffrey Harding Roth.
Giannis Fontaine.
Krista Brianne Ellis.
Alina Dean.
Wei Hua Shao.
Shelly Gian.
Jenny Mi Lee.
Lillian Sun.
Rayland Tang.
Jennifer Ann Richstad.
Kevin Park.
Ryan Lee.
Takiro Asakawa. Hiraku Arai.
Joy Che.
David Bamosi.
Robert Thomas Klein. Shoaib Barmal.
It really is a wonderful honor to be able to welcome our graduates to the company of educated women and men. Really is a stupendous achievement to have graduated from this august institution, and I can only hope to remind you for the last time as students that with this high privilege comes great responsibility. I hope that what you've learned here will orient and equip you as you venture forth as proud graduates of the University of California, Berkeley. Graduates, please rise. Please move your tassels from right to left. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, I grant you the degrees of Master of Arts in International and Area Studies, Masters of Art in Latin American Studies, and Bachelor's of Art in Development Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Latin American Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Middle Eastern Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies, and the Bachelor of Arts in Political Economy of Industrial Societies. Congratulations, class of 2009.